Hello, Jerry, my man. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and thank you, Elisha, for having me here. So grateful to be here with you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Jerry, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Jerry, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Jerry, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Jerry, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it. Beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. Oh boy. It was such a lovely experience that day, I tell you. I was so excited. Here is my point. You see, the fact that you dedicated your time, Jerry, your resources and energy to becoming the amazing Jerry that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, and how you're offering your solutions, Jerry. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Jerry's doing. And not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Jerry. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for extending the invite, and thank you for having such a amazing platform of serving people that folks like myself could come on
Beautiful.
here, and for the investment that you've made in yourself to be where you are today, my friend.
Beautiful. Thank you so
Right back
much.
at you.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Jerry. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Jerry, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge, in darkness, ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm
Yeah.
excited to have the amazing Jerry on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Jerry, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, my man, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Jerry got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Jerry, my man,
All right, good.
over to
Hey,
you.
thank you. What a great honor to be here with you. And so, yeah, my story is I do coaching. I coach high achievers. And what I like to say is I help them build lives that feel as good on the inside as they look on the outside. And for many achievers, there's a big focus in on how do I, produce, how do I achieve, how do I create a life that looks good, but often there can be a disconnect from how they feel internally. And I often tell people the difference between what you have to present yourself as versus how you actually feel about yourself. The wider that gap is, the greater there is the suffering. And so one of the things I do is I work with high achievers for them to bring alignment, to close that gap so they can live authentically and actually love the life that they've built. You know, for a lot of us, we build these lives and we're not even sure that we want to live them. We have to maintain them. We're kind of in a situation where we've been pressured into a certain type of life or production, and we just get on this achievement treadmill. So I help high achievers be healthy and to achieve from a place that feels life-giving. And the reason I do this work is because of my own story. Here I am, a guy who grew up in U.S. poverty, went to 17 different schools growing up, was on the welfare system, and was experienced a lot of abuse as a child. And so I developed what is known as shame, right? That feeling that there's something wrong with you. Guilt is, I did something wrong. Shame is, I am something wrong. And so I lived with that feeling for over 40 years that there was something wrong with me. I was fundamentally flawed or broken. And my solution to that was to try to achieve my way out of that feeling. And so I stacked up all of these achievements. Later in life, had a life implosion because it was unsustainable. And then started doing the work of healing and transforming my relationship with myself. It's the most important relationship that we have, right? The relationship that we have with ourselves. And then from that journey, started getting people requesting me to help them on their journey. And so I went into full-time coaching people on that journey. So that's a little bit about me and the story of how I got here.
Awesome, my man. Awesome. And that's a beautiful and powerful one. The fact that you went through all of that, you came out of it, and now you're using your solution to help others. That's a beautiful one. So let's talk about this. How can one, let's say, how to be a healthy high achiever? Like, how can one become a healthy high achiever? Just like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. 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 I think the first place that I always start is understanding our relationship with ourselves, right? Where is the achievement or the desire for achievement coming from? That can be from a healthy place, but it can also be from an unhealthy place. And sometimes that's happening in the background and we're not even aware of why that need to achieve is there. We just have this drive. That was certainly the case for me, and it's the case for many people I work with, that they just feel this pressure to continue to go to the next level of achievement, to pursue the next thing. And as soon as they get there, then all of a sudden they've raised the bar for now I've got to do the next thing. And so what I always start with is tell me about your relationship with yourself. And for some folks, that's new news for them, right? Well, hey, I have a relationship with myself. Absolutely. The way that you talk to yourself, the way that you treat yourself, the way you see yourself when you look in the mirror. So what are the stories that you have about yourself? Are they around perfectionism? Are they around shame? Are they around not enoughness? Or people only love me to the degree of my achievement? Or what even is my identity apart from my achievements? So we get into that work, and that's the first place we start. As we get a healthier relationship with ourselves, we can then start to look at our motives of why do I do the things that I do, and really begin to do some of the inner work that is required. It's often avoided, right? For high achievers, we have KPIs or key performance indicators for everything in our life, right? How's revenue? How's growth? All of these things. But when we think about KPIs or these performance indicators for our relationship with ourselves or these key measures, they're not there for many people. And it gets neglected, that relationship with who we are. And so we do that internal work to then bring alignment internally and really to help a person have permission to live the life that they want to live versus a life that they feel like they're driven to live.
Wow, wow. I've got a clap for you. This is beautiful. And what you just shared now sounds so effective, and it's a wonderful approach. So let's talk about self-love. All right. What is self-love and how can one practice self-love?
Yeah. Yeah. Self love, I think, is one of the most fundamental things that a person needs in their life to engage with. And it certainly is for me. You know, I found myself after years of trying to achieve and perform. Getting into this escaping behavior. And that for me showed up through drinking. And so I got pretty lost in trying to drown myself. I tell people I would drink in order to tolerate my own presence. It came to that point. And so my drinking really was an escape from the way that I felt about myself versus the way that I felt like I needed to project myself. And so in that, I wound up in rehab. I decided to check myself into rehab. And during a 30-day stay in rehab, and this was during that life implosion that I had, I was graduating from the program. And at the end, they had this ceremony. And they had a little stone, and each person passed this stone around the room. And they were to say something positive about me into the stone. And I would take the stone with me as a reminder. And so I have the stone right here. I always keep it right here on my desk. And as that stone came around, it came to me, and I was supposed to say something positive about myself. And just spontaneously out of my mouth came the words, I am worthy of my own love. It's the first time I'd ever said that, never even thought about self love, but it just came spontaneously. And in that moment, something shifted inside of me because I began to realize that one of the major challenges that I had in my life was a rejection of myself because of the shame and this internal conflict. And I began to go on a journey of understanding what self love is and how do we practice it. For me, it really is about healing our relationship with ourselves, treating ourselves the way that we would treat anybody else, right? We can be so kind to others, we can love others, but we have this view of ourselves sometimes that we're less than, that we're broken. And what self-love is it just isn't just some little positive, mindset that we adopt. It really is about approaching ourselves and that relationship that we have with ourselves in a spirit of love, the way that we think about ourselves, the way that we talk about ourselves, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we allow other people to treat us, right? And the way that we treat ourselves on a daily basis. Are we being kind? Are we practicing things in our life that show us that we love ourselves? And it is one of the most healing, transformational practices that I experienced for myself and that I also guide people through. How do you come to a place where you can love yourself? It's not narcissism. It's not selfishness. It is really the fundamental of having a healthy relationship with yourself and treating yourself as somebody that you actually love and practicing it, right? It feels very abnormal in the beginning. It feels like, this is dumb, or I don't believe this at all. And of course we don't believe it in the beginning. It bounces off of our nervous system because we've trained ourselves to talk to ourselves negatively, treat ourselves horribly. And for many high achievers, they think, well, the more I beat myself up, I need to, do that in order to continue to achieve. Well, the truth is, you can achieve from a place of self love and be much more effective at it and much more happy as you begin to practice that, real true desire that you have, even for yourself, to express love towards yourself.
Powerful words, and I got it. And you see, what you're doing is really causing a great impact. Look at it. When we hear folks who they say they find it difficult to love others, so they do some sort of evil things, I feel that's because they don't love themselves, because you cannot give what you don't have. So what you're doing now, that's like trying to help spread that beautiful solution, and gradually, you're creating beautiful impact. And I love that. So let's say there are some folks listening right now who they are stuck in shame. They live in shame. So how can they move from shame to self-love, just like you did?
Yeah, I think I think the first place that we always start is one, identifying and understanding what shame is. That shame is the message that you're fundamentally flawed, you're broken, you're never going to be good enough. And you carry that sense with you, that there's something wrong with you. And so identifying that, right, is really important because we can't heal or transform what we're ignorant about. You talked about the darkness, right? If it remains in darkness and it's hidden and we've covered it up with achieving or addictions or other things, we never get to the point of confronting it. So we have to look at it. Say, am I a person who carries shame? If you are, I want to let you know that you're not alone. And one of the key pieces of healing shame is to know that you're not alone. Because when I think I'm fundamentally flawed or broken, I think I'm in this category of one, me, uniquely messed up. But when you understand that you're not the only one, I dealt with it for over 40 years, and you begin to understand that there's other people who deal with it, you can then begin to see how it works. Shame is very sticky, and we can actually get addicted to shame. So it's another part of the healing and transformation, is that what shame will often do to us is it'll make us think we are the shame. Not that we are feeling shame, but we are it. And so if we think we're it, we're the shame, well, how can you ever heal from that? So we have to create some distance or disidentify from the shame. And one of the ways we can do that is understand what it is. You're not alone in it, but you can also understand that you can get addicted to it. And so our brain, it works in all these wonderful, beautiful ways. And sometimes it doesn't serve us so well also. And one of the things that can happen is when we think shameful thoughts or we tell ourselves that we're bad, not only are we just having that thought, but we're grooving that, right? Our neural pathways are getting developed, and that is getting to be a really deep groove in somebody's brain. It's also releasing chemicals in our body. And those chemicals, whether it's cortisol or other stress hormones that are getting released, or chemicals that are firing and wiring all of this activity. And so we can get addicted to feeling really terrible about ourselves. And so as soon as we start trying to feel good about ourselves, what happens? Shame comes in. Oh, no, you don't deserve that. You're terrible. You're horrible. And so it starts to try to pull us back down and take us back to what feels like home for us. And so if you feel shame or you're struggling with it, it can often feel like that's your home. And that's why we get into self-sabotaging behaviors. We're starting to do well. All of a sudden, our nervous system, its addiction to it, its belief system starts to start pulling us back to that place. So we have to deal with that addiction. There's, very powerful tools that I use to help people break that. And then we start installing the new belief systems. And so just like the old system got installed, which could come from childhood trauma, it could come from other painful life experiences, could come from culture, all that stuff gets installed into our wiring. Well, love is just like that. I tell people love isn't, love is this universal force, but it's not that some people are just better at self-love and others are more terrible and they're just wired that way. No, it's a practice. You practice. It's a skill that you develop. And there's very clear things that you can do to start developing self-love. One is changing the way that you talk about yourself. Two, I help people put reminders everywhere to break that cycle. We work through mantra work. We work through action work, assignments, all kinds of things. And if you think about it as you're reprogramming yourself, really help you disidentify from I'm bad, I'm broken, I'm shameful to no, it's something I've learned, it's something I've developed, it's embedded in my nervous system, and I can change it and I can transform it through some intentional work.
Beautiful. And I got that. And you see, you've just opened my eyes to a series of things I never knew before about shame. Thank you so very much. So to bring this to an end, Jerry, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who
Yeah.
would like to reach out to you, learn more about the beautiful stuff you're doing on your services or programs, or even ask you a question, how can that be possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing I could leave you with is the words that spontaneously came to me, which is you are worthy of your own love. And it doesn't matter what's happened. It doesn't matter what the story is. I mean, the story is important, right? But it doesn't disqualify. Our story never disqualifies us from transformation. It can actually be the platform that can bring transformation in your life. And so you are worthy of your own love, and you can live a life that you actually love. And if you want more information about the work that I do, you can simply go to jerryhenderson.org, or you can shoot me an email at jerry@jerryhenderson.org. I'd love to connect with you, learn more about you.
Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Jerry. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you so much, my man.
Thank you so much. So grateful to get to know you and to be here with you, my friend.
That was a